Hello. So I think I might sing my song, but the big feeling in my heart today was just the difference between supporting reality versus living inside of reality. And what's so great about existentially orienting instead of philosophically orienting is that you don't need to support the reality you're inside, because you're just talking about what you see. And then if somebody else sees something else, you just look at it. And if you don't see it, you ask them to help you to see it. And as you begin to, it'll connect to what you see. And because you see it, and you see what else you see, so you connect those things. And even if they're not connected inside of you, they're still connected to you. And then things just happen that way. It's just the way it is. And so really it's the whole lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge God, yada God, and experientially, relationally look at Him. Behold the nature of God, who is God, the one who's God inside of all the, like God. God, the word God, it means a lot, doesn't it? And it's been this and thatted, Greek gods, and then maybe he's the god of thunder, the god of wind, but not any of those, like just this God concept, like the one who made all things, and inside of all things, his nature is expressed, like what he's like as a guy in his artwork, and how that likeness, that howness, that connective way that connects him to his inventions, that becomes the on-ramp to like relationally knowing him, and then that relationship with you and God becomes the cohesive conversation where everything can kind of connect inside of that conversation. And so it's just existentially orienting instead of philosophically orienting. It's leaning not on your own bina, but in all your ways, yada in God. It's actually letting go and knowing that He's God, right? Rapa and yada, that I am God. Let go. Know that I'm God. Psalm 46:10. And so it's this really good thing, and there's such a giant invitation inside of it, because the way that you get homeschooled in the wrong home, the way the reality gets presented to you in an intellectually driven culture, in a culture that's leaning on its own understanding, in a culture that shames you if you're not, in a culture that's competitive and stirs you up and gamifies leaning on your own understanding. You get the insecurities, and you get the self-consciousness, and you get all the broken instincts to lean on your own understanding, and that hurts, and what ends up happening is then you start yada in God, no longer supporting existence, but just inhabiting existence and being honest with your testimony of existence. And then you become honest with what you believe about existence, and you can actually connect, because your belief is actually what you've beheld inside of your heart. And so it's not philosophy you adhere to, it's actually what you truly do bear witness to in reality, like the actual belief, not just the principle that you subscribe to. And then because of that, you're actually beginning to occupy your day presently in it, as you are, moving off of your real beliefs, not off of your subscriptions, leaning not on your own understanding, but in all your ways knowing God. So you're letting go of your subscriptions, and your just the sort of flags and banners that you carry around. You let go of all those, and you allow the reality of who God is to support himself within the space of reality. And it becomes scary because the spirit of religion starts basically just taunting you to lean on your own understanding in the way of relating to God, and it starts saying that you're not safe, and that you really need to keep protecting yourself, and you really need to keep accruing principles and tactics and philosophies and theologies to support and protect yourself, to employ them inside of the world. And so then when you start just trying to exist and be honest with the measure of faith that you have and just occupy your day, you start feeling like lots of shoulds and various things that you should perform, and all of that is really indicative of this different position that's not biblical, and it is a position of independence, which goes back to supporting reality again, and it goes back to philosophy, it goes back to leaning on your own understanding. You are existentially dependent. You aren't holding yourself together. You aren't. I certainly amn't. I certainly amn't holding myself together, but I am held together. I certainly don't manipulate reality, control it, and facilitate my own existence. I don't do that. I actually am held together by someone else. And so I can cast my cares on the one in whom I'm living and breathing and having my consistence, the one who takes over lordship of my life. I can cast my cares on this new Lord of my life, because no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And so I can cast my cares on the Spirit of Christ, who wants to actually live through me as an expression of that Spirit, which is what John 3 is about. And so then I'm expressive of the nature of the one who's inhabiting me. I am a house that looks like the one who's inhabiting me, because he's tidying my shelves, and the spirit of the one who's inhabiting me, his nature, his howness, his way, is even his name is becoming my name. That's why at the end of Ezekiel, the city is named "The Lord is there," because that's my name. And my name is that the Lord is here. And so then I become dependent. I cast my cares on him, and I let him care for me, like Peter said to do. Humble yourself before the mighty hand of God, right? But it's not just like humble yourself to the principle of the mighty hand of God. It's actually another one of those personal, relational acknowledgement things. That's why his presence is so important. That's why, the arc of his presence is a really cool thing. And that's why his presence is just so important. That's why his face shining on us, his panem, his nearness, the nearness of you is my only good. I've set the Lord always before me. The proximal relationship to God, that behold, I'm always with you, and I will never leave you even until the end of the age. The one who rests under my shadow, I'm underneath it, we're together. The togetherness with God, right? I'm his special possession. The togetherness with God. It helps me to empathize with him being around me, and that actually positions me to turn on my relational circuits in my brain, and it helps me to start actually yadaing him, which is personal, experiential knowing. And that personally experiential knowing, so good. Recalling the conversation I had yesterday with Angel, John, and Abigail, and the sister, I can't remember her name, but it was all about a lot of this stuff, and it was just so amazing. But yeah, I get to actually relate to him, and that enables me to be dependent on the one who's with me and flowing through me. And what's so great about this is that I'm a temple, and that I am in him and he is in me, and we are one. I mean, guess. I am in him and he is in me, and we are one. Yay. I am in him, he is in me, we are one. I think there's grace to go maybe another 10 minutes before I worry about gas. And so now, the Spirit of the living God is inside of me. And now, like, what is it? It's John 14, where Jesus talks about, like, you know, you've known him because he was with you, but now he's going to come inside of you. And so we're already, like, relating to this nature, this spirit of holiness, the one who whets our appetite to pursue intimacy with Jesus, because he's the one who righteousness adores, and those who hunger and thirst for righteousness will be filled. And so he actually helps us to spiritually see Jesus, so we can know Jesus according to the Spirit. And as we do know him according to the Spirit, we start to hunger for him. But now we actually find that if you are thirsty, come to me and drink, and out of your belly will flow rivers of living water. And so what's so wonderful about that is that the Holy Spirit is flowing inside of us like a river, carrying the nature of Christ. And that as he does, it's like he's inhabiting my house, and my house is becoming evident to the one who inhabits it. The shelves are getting tidied. It's looking more like an expression of the one who lives inside of it. But I'm actually a living expression. I'm not like a static expression like a building. I'm actually a living expression. I'm this guy with a flick of fingers. And I move and talk and go and do things, and I pick stuff up, and I swim, and I splash, and I effervesce. Do I? Yes. And so that's just really good, you know. I like the Turnpike because it'll make my decision for getting gas very simple. I will just have to find a service plaza. So where am I going? Slow down, stay to the left, even though Maggie Smith yells the opposite. And so now I'm bearing the nature of a living nature of the one who's inhabiting me. And so now I'm a living thing in a living reality. I'm a probabilistic entity inside of a radically ambiguous space, yet I make specific fruit, yet I also go back to the ambiguity as my home. And it's so good. But yeah, so I become dependent on the Spirit who's living inside of me. And so then the picture becomes, you know, that Ezekiel 47 temple, where the temple is what's it doing? It's got a river flowing out of it. From under its little door, it's under its threshold, there's a river flowing out of it. Just like how there's water flowing down the side of Mount Hermon. Where does the water going down from Mount Hermon go? It goes into the River Jordan. And so now all of a sudden the dew that's coalescing on the top of verse 3 in Psalm 133 is actually the brothers sitting together in unity, and so like the common witness, you know, because we're unified. How are you unified? Toward uno, shav ach gam yachud, and so now we're unified on one focal point, which of course is our anointed head. But what his revelations inside of everything, because of, you know, Colossians 1 and also for 1 Corinthians 15:28 and lots of other things, Psalm 110. And so then I'm dependent on this Holy Spirit that's flowing through me like water, and now I'm actually a blessing to the environment. But what's so cool is that I'm dependent on all of this stuff, and it's all just a state of being. And as I'm at rest, it's actually the Spirit who harmonizes me with my environment as well as the heart of God. Because it's the Spirit who searches my heart, and it's the Spirit who actually searches the heart of God, and it's actually the Spirit who searches all things. And so he's the one who's actually harmonizing these spaces, because he's Lord. That's why it says where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom. This one who's like wind likes you to be free inside of the space that he's filling. Because your nature is like the one who's like wind. So you're free. It's good news. And so the beautiful existential orientation of this all is that I don't support reality, and I can occupy reality. And the moment that I try to turn it into a principle or my own understanding, I get overwhelmed and sad, and and all of the goodness that's inside of me becomes a curse. It becomes heavy weight. All of the keys that I have to freedom become a burden of responsibility to me to control that environment, rather than trusting that the one who gave me the keys will also help me to know when to use the keys, because he's never going to leave me. And that's why Paul even says, if you're going to court, don't even prepare what you're going to say in the court. Let the Holy Spirit tell you. And it's important because he's harmonizing the hearts inside of that space, the spirits inside of that space, and it's a work that only he can see. And so you don't want to extra get yourself geared up to do a thing when he might actually pivot you, because when you're in that space, the harmony of what's going on inside of that space will be a living thing, and the static thing that you built in your heart of your plan can hinder that, and so it's nice not to have to prepare what you're going to say. But yeah, that's it. Dependence. It's just dependence, existential dependence. Woo! That's all.